Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat. And welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be back with y'all. And yes, Kit, I am late. I told y'all I would be late. We had a birthday lunch for Rust's Halo coworker today, and our lunches are epic. We know how to do lunch right, dang it. But it's good to be back here. We're going to be doing Minecraft. Don't worry, stream's still going to be the same length, just later than usual. You know, like you do. Well, I know you weren't able to watch, but, you know, still. I told everyone. But yeah, Bad Roxy, congratulations on getting the crown of Fursendom. The late crown. That's all I have today. I can't come up with much more. I'm a little full of great food. Exciting news on the Meat Morp front, which is a weird thing to say, but here we are. Junie did a fresh set of Meat Morps for me, where it's my Meat Morp but vested for mass. So there's one of every liturgical color. So keep an eye out for those as I get them ready and working. I was having some trouble earlier today, but I think I know what the problem is, so I think we can sort it out. Just didn't have time. She literally just finished them this morning, so that's exciting. But also, welcome to the Good Homs. Welcome to the channel, Good Homs. Thank you for the follow. Good to have you. So, let's go ahead. Let's dive into some Minecraft. Meep. There's Meep Classic. Meep Classic is not going anywhere. But I will be adding a new Meep redeem for him in his mask clothes. Oh, excuse me. So oh wow, that did a lot of damage to our stuff. Anyway, last time we got to the end and we got an Elytra. So I'm gonna put a lot of this extra stuff away. And then we're gonna head back over to the Basilica, and we're gonna work on the windows today. Oh, the ray tracing is so pretty. I've also been working on some potential stickers. I might have stickers in the near future to either sell and or give away. Okay, return the bed to there. Probably need to make more glass. Feel like we're probably pretty low on that. Yeah. More glass. Where's all my sand? Is that all the normal sand I have? Huh. Well, maybe that'll be a problem we worry about later. don't need 2 oranges. Yeah, it's all 6 colors. Great. I feel like I'm really quiet. Who knows? And then we'll want some scaffolding as well. There we go. That's one side done. I need to replace these at some point with normal dirt blocks. Oh, so they're not standing out so much. It's kind of a fun, different window. And if we come inside, we should see. Yeah! That's what we like to see. Hey, squirrel. I'm doing well. Yourself? I am full of lamb from my lunch, so therefore I am doing great. Why did I break that one? I didn't need to. Oh well. I am, I suppose. Well, there you go. Just woke up from a nap, had lunch, and opened a can of worms at work. Oh no! Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. That is rough. Oof. Well. Prayers of patience and endurance for you. I mean, I had to. It was your chance to speak. It is what it is. Yeah. No, those sort of situations, I mean... Just because you have to doesn't mean it's going to be a pleasant process. You know, sometimes a metaphor I like using is the idea of, like, surgery. Like, most people don't want to go get, like, a knee replacement surgery, but they want the result of it. But they don't want to put up with the, like, actual physical surgery and the recovery period. And I don't blame them. I didn't open up anything at work, mostly because I didn't go to work today because of all the stuff going on. Well, there you go. I hope it's good stuff going on. Hey, Britt. I worked so solidly this morning, I'm just vibing this afternoon. There you go. If I had started at the usual time, may have gotten a crown of Fessendom. Yeah, we had a birthday lunch today. Now, we don't typically go to lunch until like 1 o'clock when we do it as an office. So we didn't get back at, like, literally I went live and like 2 minutes later, I was off of my going live soon page. What I'm saying is if you ever work for Busted Halo, we know how to live life right. Spit direction was good. Okay, we may not need as much glass left as I imagined earlier because we're almost done. We still have more panes of basically every color but red. And I could fix that. What spiritual direction like as a priest? Actually, it's largely the same. I imagine it's, you know, where is God moving in your life? Where do you see God moving you to? And how does that impact your vocation? Like, I see a lay person for my spiritual direction. Okay. 3 windows left, and we are done with the windows. And then it's just putting in all the stair pieces in upside all along the walls. That's the part I've been dreading the most in terms of completing this, but if that's all that's left, I feel like I can chip away at some of that off screen as well. Did I mention the other day I might be going on another big Catholic trip next summer or the summer after? Hey, that's awesome. No, you did not. Where to? Italy? Back to the Holy Land? Pilgrimage of Australian Saints? Part of the Camino. Ooh, very nice. I have not done the Camino myself yet. I should like to. Okay. That is all of our windows in. That is pretty exciting. Just doing a survey of the outside. We'll do a survey of the inside. Gonna have to figure out to save enough. Yeah, that is fair. One happy little sunbeam coming in from the bell tower. But check that out. Oh! That looks so cool. I love that. I love how it it casts the light like that. $4K is a lot. Yeah. Booyah. And like that, the external part of the Basilica of Our Lady Queen of Angels is complete. That is a pretty awesome accomplishment. Okay, and I didn't have to make any more glass on like what I thought. Okay, so next up is... Oh, we can take all this. Are your guys' spiritual directors official positions, or just people that... Who you call that? Mine is very much his official position. Like, he has his doctorate from Boston College in spiritual direction. Yeah, I really need to make a creeper farm so I can get lots of gunpowder to make fireworks. Do I have any piles of fireworks lying around? Or not fireworks, gunpowder lying around by any chance? A little bit. Might have some more at the main base as well. That might be next week's project, is just organizing things at the main base. I know it's not exactly the most exciting thing, but it is part and parcel of the Minecraft. Go get some sugarcane real quick. Did I rotate? No one has rotated so far. Do I not have any other gunpowder in here? I thought I had some somewhere. Oh well. There's the rota. Okay, I have to take a quick look at it because I forgot. I looked at this and I came up with something. I don't remember what it was. I remember. As soon as I saw it, I remembered. Jesus says at the end of this gospel, to those to whom much has been entrusted, much will be demanded. And we can think of that very much as a theology of privilege, if you want to use that word. That word might make you uncomfortable, but a sense of, you know, those who have, it is the natural expectation that they do something with it. That God asks of us. Oh, excuse me. And we don't get to just rest on our laurels. But we are called to active lives. And obviously, everyone, what is asked of and required of each person is going to look different. And that's okay. So it's going to take discernment of what we have and where we're starting from in order to know that. Yeah, it's the classic Spider-Man line. With great power comes great responsibility. Okay. Why did I put the Elytra back away here? I needed it. It's been a while since I've done this, so we'll see how it goes. If you have an Elytra, you can ride the fireworks. Okay, those are still cooking. Put those away in there. If these are not enough stairs to complete this project, I don't know what will be. Oh no! I thought I was tall enough, but I am not. How embarrassing. I should just put a torch in my offhand so that I constantly have a work light. Okay, so the next section is that, and that. So what if I started from about here? Bitch. Yeah, that should be fine. I can make this work. So I can then put it there and there. So would the lip go here, I guess? I don't remember. Good, no. I actually want to dip into creative there. Okay, yeah, so it's up along the top edge of that. Okay. Let's collect that one while we're down here. Gotta say, after having gone through a third of canon law, ain't no way I'm remembering all those different titles the church has. Vicar, legates, titular bishops. We got a lot. We do got a lot. I can't remember them either. That's why I'm happy that they're written down in canon law. Oh, I didn't think about that. I don't want to put a stair piece here. So I guess what I'll do is this. So it'll curve off and flatten out. Because I want the window to be exposed. Ow. My ankles. Speaking of, have I ever encountered, do I know a titular bishop? They don't talk about that in canon law. Yeah, actually, you've probably, if you've ever met an auxiliary bishop, you have met a titular bishop. So in the church, we teach, sort of in our organizational norms. That's not going to work either. So I'm going to have to do that. That's going to just have to be a solid block right there is what that's going to have to be. Ow. Does canon apply differently to mortars and howitzers? You know, it's really whatever you can field at the moment. No, so titular bishops, the church has an idea that basically you are not, if someone is a bishop, they are not a bishop just sort of free-floating. They are a bishop of a particular place. So we have the idea of, what's the word I'm looking for? Auxiliaries. It's like, okay, so we have a bishop of New York, but he has an assistant bishop. But that bishop can't also be the bishop of New York. Let's make him a titular bishop. So we'll make, the see of Bakhtaristan, it hasn't existed since 1103. We'll give it to him, so that's his official place. So he is technically a bishop of a place, even if there's no one there or no active church organization there. We'll be seeing the diocese auxiliary bishop 2 Sundays from now. Your parish is getting a third deacon. These two things might be related. That's awesome, though. Congrats to your parish and to that man being ordained. God grant him many years. That sounds awfully bureaucratic. Yes. You're not wrong. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I kind of understand the theology behind it, but it also seems like an unnecessary extra amount of steps to go to get there. But what do I know? I'm not in charge. Can I ask a scripture question? Absolutely. I'll need a Bible handy. Uh-oh. Which of my many Bibles will I grab? So I think what I'm going to do in these spaces is... if I fill it in kind of like that. The coolest titular see in America is held by Metropolitan Gregory of Nyssa. That is... he was born for that role. Yeah, because the side naves are one narrower, but also like one taller than the main nave, the main nave and the apse nave. these proportions work out slightly differently. So I could step this out yet again like that. One moment. Oh. Which I don't hate. I kind of don't love it either. Can I explain Matthew 13:52 means in context 47:52? Sure thing. Let me grab a Bible really quickly. I can do my best. Matthew 13. (47-52). Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. When it was full, men drew it ashore, and they sat down, sorted the good into vessels, but threw away the bad. So it'll be at the close of the age. The angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the furnace of fire, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all this? They said to him, yes! Spoiler alert, no they didn't. And he said to them, therefore, every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like a householder who brings out his treasure, what is new and what is old. So you're asking about the what is new and what is old. So this is my study Bible, and I'll just go read you the footnote for that passage. Scribes, legal experts in the first century Judaism. Here it denotes the apostles instructed for the kingdom. Jesus equips them to evangelize and catechize the world of the treasures hidden in the old covenant and manifest in the new. Matthew's own ministry follows this pattern. He continually cites the Old Testament to explain its fulfillment in Jesus Christ. Study Bible. Are you checking the big red bricks? It sounds mostly the same, but slightly different from the ESV that I linked. This is an RSV edition, so... So what's your question specifically, Britt? So maybe I can better tailor... Like, how does the last verse to the previous portion is that I don't follow? Even the footnotes stuff online to a lot of words and collective explanation is barely above my head. I mean, so the previous passage, Jesus is talking very eschatologically of like, okay, this is what the end is going to be like. Compared to... and then he's basically telling his apostles, you guys are the ones who have to get people ready for this. I don't think it's that they're necessarily linked. Like, obviously the one doesn't have anything to do with fish. It's kind of like when if you have a friend who says something like, oh, okay, and then just like says something else that's like tangentially related, but not really, and you're like, wait, huh, what? I think it's a moment of Jesus kind of doing that. Just like me. Well, there you go. Hey, friend, good to see ya. And I think it's Jesus' response, like the whole, I joked about it, but she's saying, like, do you understand? She's being like, then being like, yeah, we get it. And she's like, you probably don't. Oh, you probably don't. What's the new old part about? New Testament, Old Testament. Is that a separate point from the end of age thing with the fish? Yeah, I think it's that's two thoughts that are just physically close together in Scripture, but are not necessarily, like, they are intertwined, obviously, because Scripture is itself very intertwined. They are both eschatological, but I don't think it's necessarily that they're meant to follow more one from the other as a solid thought process. So in some ways, I think, and not sound rude in saying this, but like, I think in looking for a connection might just make it harder because there really isn't an active one in the same way that we might want to think of it. Bad Roxy has redeemed a father joke. So I mentioned I went out to lunch today, and while we were at the restaurant, there was a couple there meeting up on a blind date, and the man said to the woman, "Hi, my name's Heath," and she said, "My name's Heather," and he said, "Look, it doesn't have to be a competition." Yay, Minecraft! Hoi, Bree! That just confused me. Yeah, the close proximity, but depending on your version of the Bible, she is the greatest. Would that make her the Heathist? If you look at it, depending on what Bible you're looking at, they might even like break it up with some paragraphs and headers to kind of show the difference. Boo! Yeah, that is the appropriate response. Ow! I keep falling off, and it's totally not my fault. They're read together mass. Yeah, lots of things get read together at mass that don't necessarily always follow. I've just finished raking leaves from my lawn, and my lawn, I mean my parents' lawn. Sounds like a very fall thing to do. Ow. My kneecaps. Hence you're confused. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's entirely valid. What is this fall you speak of? I don't know. I just seem to be falling for lots of things. This is why I'm no good at Blood on the Clock Tower. I fall for everyone's trickery. That's why I play things like Factorio and Minecraft. There's no lying, there's no cheating, there's no deceiving. There's only the block, the factory. It's currently 82. Well, that does sound like Flowrida. Ow. It's 89 in Tejas. Well. It was like 70 degrees here in the city today. Actually feels very comfortable and practically summery. Early summer, mind you. Give me the warmth. It keeps trying to get warm in Utah too. Still in the 70s, but at least you're over it. There you go. Well, before you know it, it'll be freezing cold in Utah. And snowy. Blip, blop, blip, blop, blip, blop. Wait, Roxy, are you going to be able to snowboard this season at all? I can't imagine that you will. But I could be wrong. I was saying hang, but it's time to leave work. There you go. Well, have a good night. Have fun with the fellowship night. Take care. Probably not, but I'm going to try my best to. Fair enough. And little Jeremiah, that's how you were born on the ski slope. Going south to Brian. Nice. Okay, I've lost some scaffolding somewhere. Oh, there it is. And assuming everything goes well, I should heal up and still be on leave in February and March. There you go. Who's Brian? That is fair. Everyone asks who is Brian. No one ever asks how is Brian. Poor Brian. Now, when you say Brian, Roxy, I assume you mean Brian Head. In order to give Bree a little better context. It's a place, yeah. It's a mountain? A canyon? I forget what exactly. Ski resort, yep. Like, it's one of those things I know, but it's like... stopping to actually think about it, like, wait, what exactly is it? Can't base that context. Yeah, that's fair. I wonder if that'll work. Hold on, I want to test something. Ah, okay, that command does currently work for me. That's good. So this is the new Meat Morp I was talking about, and I just realized, oh, if it's green, it might get hit by the green screen. But there are other colors. I might not be able to put red in or green in the rotation. We got shaders, folks. Yeah, we got shaders because we got the computer back. Good to see you, Mel. Hope you're doing well. I want to say something, but is it appropriate? Squints. I don't know if AutoMod mod catches it. I don't have to allow it. Y'all heard the story of Emperor's new clothes. I was gonna make a tactical vestments joke. You can't. He's got a camouflage chasuble. Half the stuff that I feel like I randomly saying I'd have to give myself penalties is not for saying it. Sound a song or a noise from Amogus? Ooh, that's sus. Shout out to the collective brain rot. Saw a description on a manga yesterday. She's a 10, but she speaks skibbity riz. Sorry, kids. Just because they have Ohio Riz doesn't mean I can do an exorcism. Brain rock girlfriend. This is discrimination against me, the worst kind. That actually needs to go. Hey, you got it! You got your meat morp too. Man, Junie is just like really getting a lot of those done right now. Have I ever shared my story of discernment to the priesthood? Just popped in your head and you're curious. I have, but I'm always happy to share it. So when I was in undergrad, I was studying mechanical engineering. And one day I was sitting in my dorm room, and I had some homework to do, and I really didn't want to do it. So I did the logical thing, and I pulled up a list of Catholic religious orders in Wikipedia. Not because I was discerning, but because I was bored and I was avoiding the homework. And so I go to this alphabetical list and I'm going down it literally, you know, okay, yeah, Franciscan, sure, I've heard of them. They like animals. J, Jesuit, sure, okay, whatever. And the thing is, you know, growing up in Utah, like I knew orders were a thing, but I didn't really know a whole lot about them. Oh, excuse me. And around that time, I was also beginning to grow disillusioned with the idea of engineering as a career. I was kind of beginning to think that maybe I want to check something on the other side. I was beginning to think that maybe it wasn't for me to do day in, day out. But I wasn't ready to admit that yet, so it's really God's providence that this came along at the same time. Okay, cool. I did do those correctly on that side. Wait. Oh no, I didn't finish the side. Hold on. Anyway, so I get to P for Paulist, which shows you how much I was avoiding my homework. And it was kind of like God smacked me upside the head and said, this is going to be important. This is going to be on the test. And I could not get the idea and the image and the meaning of Paulist out of my head. And I had never heard of these guys. It turns out they actually founded the parish I grew up in. We just left about 2 years before I was born. And sort of slowly over time, I eventually... Oh, no! Why is there a creeper there? Oh, okay. Anyway. I was beginning to realize that maybe God was calling me to something. I didn't want to admit it. And so eventually I did kind of open up to God and say, okay, what are you trying to tell me? I'll sit down and shut up and let you do some talking for a bit. So I got in contact with the vocation director, and this was... So I found the policy on Wikipedia in October, and it was not until the next summer, like June, July, that I reached out to the vocation director. So it shows you that it took me a while. But after that, I went on some come and see retreats with the community and was in regular contact, and just kind of got to a point where it's like, I was like, okay, I feel good about this. So I switched my major to philosophy. And when I graduated, actually it was in my senior year while I was working towards graduation, but still, while I was working towards graduation, that I was working on my application and finished it up and decided, okay, I've graduated, I've been accepted, let's try this out. Because worst case scenario, we say, you know, I try it and I say, wow, that wasn't for me. And I clear the board early, as it were. Obviously, I'm still here, because that was 11 years ago this year that I entered the novitiate. So it was really throughout that time that I came to know the Paulists and the identity more deeply, and saw myself as one and made my profession, and just kind of kept moving along, and eventually, you know, reached the point where it's like, yeah, I want to make this decision for life and serve God's church this way. Yeah, Father, I became a priest because engineering sucks. Sucks for me. When I was in college, the priest who did on-campus mass once told the story. He knew he wanted to be a priest when he noticed that his home village in Africa, whenever priests visited a family's home, they have a really nice dinner for him. Well, there you go. Five out of 6 people in that engineering dorm did not become engineers. It's so well, no. 50%. 50%. The F in engineering stands for fun. Because I would say, my roommate Nick absolutely did become an engineer. He got his doctorate in it, for crying out loud. Dan works for NASA or something adjacent. And I'm pretty sure Joel also actually became an engineer at some point, but we never really stayed in contact with Joel. He was not the popular one in the apartment. Now, Gail, Sam, and I... I'm gonna have to use that line though, Mel. The F in engineering stands for fun. Oh, you're most welcome. Bit of an unconventional story, I know, but... A major thing that attracted me to the Paulists ultimately was our use of technology and media, and here I am on Twitch. So it worked. I don't need to go out that far. Actually, that won't even be that. So that will be... My brain was like, I will keep moving this direction, so I'll press the other button. Oh. Like that. Thank you. No. A friend of mine was in college preparing to go to Episcopalian seminary when one day he let me know that he went to Catholic Christmas Mass instead and he decided to become a Catholic. And was received a few months later on the usual day. Now he's in seminary, saying that as the other half of the Episcopalian student organization, things might not have worked out the way that those guys intended for their college people. Well, you know. Maybe it didn't work out quite the way they intended, but I feel like the Episcopalians would probably be like, yeah, you guys are still seeking God and a relationship with God, so, you know. Okay. Look at that. Look at those nice smoothed out curves. Also, why is that one look messed up? Oh no, I just missed some. Chat, don't look that I'm in creative mode. I just really messed up on this first one. Okay. That is the transept's done. So we have the nave completed. Transept's completed. We just have to do the apps. So the walls, I'm just gonna do the stairs up to here. I don't think I'm gonna bother with it on this part or any of the actual physical apps. Oh no! Okay, if I do that, that should work. The aforementioned African priest had a homily on the day that he was received, where the thing that I remember was him saying that if you give soda for Lent, then drink a gallon on Easter, you miss the point of Lent. I was struggling to hold in laughter because I had given up Red Bull for Lent, and then had 8 cans by the 5 p.m. Mass. Oops. We might. I think we're actually going to be able to finish the Basilica today. Like, this is the last piece of detail work. And the flooring in here, but that's part of just clearing out the... That's part of cleanup, and I don't count that as detail work. Ooh, excuse me. It's always fun to hear the priest mention almost exactly the thing that you do. Most recently, that feeling has come from hearing about how people need to work on learning how to avoid constantly checking phones every minute or so. Oh, hold on, where's my phone? I am sleepy after that meal. I have the itis. many stacks? Oh, I have so many stacks of stairs left. That's not a lot of... What, 8 cans of Red Bull? That sounds like a lot of caffeine to me. Of course, I also have maybe a cup of tea a week. Oh, that is a lot. Sorry, that is a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. Yeah. I misread your correction in the wrong way. Well, I think the good news is that Brayherd's heart did not explode. I've cut back. I can't handle that much anymore. Well, that's good. Like, why isn't this building up? Oh. So I'm in a bad spot. No, stop it. Three cans of Monster I've cut back. I mean... Yes? Technically? You're headed in the right direction. That's what's important. Does that make you feel bad? I know you're asking a legitimate question about his physiological response, but I like to think you're also just doing a little bit of the classic Catholic guilt action. You're not even Catholic, but, you know. We can all share the guilt. That's what I'm here for, the guilt. It doesn't feel as bad because I stick with no sugar energy drinks. That's probably a wise idea. I mean, I think the real wise idea, the 5-head move, is to just not have energy drinks, but... Most I've ever had in one day in college was 14 cans. I had a few midterm papers to write. Good sir, I think you transcended reality that night. want it a little taller. Watch midterm papers move. Now you see, Professor, for my midterm, I managed to solve the Voynich manuscript, and I wrote my paper in that. But then the caffeine wore off, and I forgot how to read the Voynich manuscript. So, good luck to suffering my paper. Gotta pick all these things up. Is this Minecraft version of Iglesia Sagrada from Spain? A little bit. Good to see a hope. It is inspired by a combination of St. Peter's in Rome, La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and a little bit of Notre Dame in the exterior. And the best part is, we just finished it. So let's go ahead and let's set time, set day. So we just finished the windows on the high portions, and then all of these like angled upside down stair bits to help kind of smooth out the transitions on the layers. Ayo, ayo indeed. Can you show my mom the outside real quick? Absolutely. Best outside pictures this way. Get some of the graveyard in there. Just gonna take a little screenshot of that. Sheesh. And this was built entirely, well, 99% in survival mode. How much time was put into this? I started this project in March. Minecraft became a weekly stream in August, I think. So when you factor all that together, I would estimate probably 30 hours or so, including gathering all the materials, transporting them, placement, building, terraforming. Let's get that overhead shot. So if we center on the cross, kind of looks like that. If we go more towards the center of mass, or well, center of of the narrow nave. It's kind of more like that. So 9 bell towers. This is Our Lady, Queen of Angels. So each bell tower representing a different choir of angels. And inside, we'll go back from the front. So we have the rose window above the entrance as we come in. Over here, we have a great map of what it looks like. So that gives you a good sense. But as we enter, we come and we're faced with the high altar, which has its baldacchino. And then underneath the high altar is the Confessio with the relics of a saint. To the left nave, or left transept, we have so the southern transept, we have the confessionals. To the northern transept, we have the Tabernacle and Adoration Chapel, set up for daily mass. And then we have the choir stalls for the canons that are part of this. And their altar space. I need to make some candles to put on these, but that's such a small detail, I don't count it as not being completed. And yeah, we have all the upper windows completed today, and then all of this brickwork done. I am thoroughly pleased with how this has turned out. It's been a real fun project. I'm also feeling a very great sense of accomplishment with it being done. So the next portion of what I want for it, and this is not going to be the next project, but at some point I'd like to turn this area into a circular courtyard, kind of meshing with the front doors. So filling up this area with a fountain in the middle. But I think the next thing I want to work on is a house for myself. So I was kind of thinking something kind of modern a la Frank Wright. So maybe over here-ish. Or, yeah, probably here-ish. I kind of want it close to the church. Me making a dirt house and getting excited. You should get excited for what you have built. Everyone has different skills, and that's okay. But yeah, so kind of a modernist house over there. So kind of thinking one rectangle this way and another rectangle this way. It's kind of cantilevered, a lot of glass. I like farming. That's good. That's important on a server. Is having someone who's like, yeah, I'll handle the farm. Keeping everyone fed and alive. That's important stuff. There's the extra gunpowder I was looking for. I knew I had some somewhere. So I'm going to dismantle these. Because I guess the good news is if I want to build something else, I don't have to move everything up back to the main base. Like I can just move it over to here. What? Did I miss one? There should be 6 of these. There it is. Is it possible to hold mass within Minecraft? Not a real mass, but you could pantomime one. there for now. It wouldn't fulfill your Sunday obligation? No, but it would fulfill the Sunday obligation of your Minecraft person, I guess. Of your Steve. So, speaking of farming, Bree, there's the wheat farm. Okay, let's talk about the palette of this house. JK, I'm actually back. Hey. Well, we actually finished the Basilica while you were away. There are Roblox liturgical roleplay servers. Yeah. Roblox is weird and makes me uncomfortable. But ads time too. There we go. Get some fireworks. Okay, so what I'm thinking is these two blocks essentially. I want them to be different colors, but within a color range. So I'm thinking one kind of white, one kind of gray, probably the gray on the bottom. So for our grays, we could do tough, stone, cobblestone, diorite. I could do light gray, concrete. Pure ads. That. Yeah, ads be like that. But welcome back. We actually completed the Basilica. Finished up the last of the Ingling work. Bone could be interesting, and there are bone blocks in the Nether that I could get that would help speed that up. So that's a possibility. I could also do quartz. I'm kind of leaning towards quartz for the upper area. And then maybe light gray or gray concrete for the bottom. And then lots of glass. So that's going to be fun. That'll be another trip to the desert. Of course, also, the concrete's going to be another trip to the desert because that takes sand. Right? Because what's... Yeah, sand and gravel. Do I have... I should have gravel. I have a stack there. Just a random piece there. Some random gravel there. I need to reorganize this so badly. Okay, so I'll need more gravel as well, but that's easy to do. Or reasonable to do at least. Just need to take a stack of fish. Did I miss any interesting combos? It's hard. I don't know. I think all my combos are interesting. dying. This will only last for so long because eventually the Seleger's gonna wear out. I'll have to get a book of mending for it at some point. Let's take a look. Okay, so do we have some light gray dye here? I do have quartz slabs. That's actually good to know. White wool. That's less exciting. Because it kind of gives a very rough texture. I feel like I've overdone the calcite. Go to Fellowship with the Young Knights, but drive over an hour for Fellowship night. Hang out, spend money at food trucks, and stay home, eat food. Much needed adoration. There you go. Both are good. Both are good options. But the staying home and saving money is always a good one to go with. Whoosh. Can I land on the Rotunda? Nope. Okay, let's grab the gravel. Make light gray concrete powder. Okay, let's see how this looks both on its own and hardened. Plus, say a friend you haven't seen since high school. Hey, that's cool. Okay, let's grab a block of quartz, see how those compare. So, what I'm kind of thinking here, let's take it outside, actually. Let's see how it looks in the sunlight, because that's where we're mostly going to see these blocks. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking, is, using this gray, like the hardened concrete, as a trim, but using this as the filler on the base. And then using quartz on the upper level. So it's going to kind of be cantilevered, so again, it's going to be like, essentially, like if this is the lower area of the house, by comparison, like let's say it's 4 long. The upper level of the house is going to kind of be like this. So I'm going to need a lot more quartz, which means more going into the nether. I won't do that right now, but yeah, I like that as a palette. Maybe we'll use white concrete or white wool or something, another white block to be the border of the upper level. Just to help break up the monotony and help it. Although I guess if the upper level is probably going to be even more glass. Again, modernist home. It's going to be very bright. It's going to be, a bit of a like a loft situation. And yeah, it's going to kind of generally go here. So I think the lower section's going to go like this, and the upper section's going to go like this. That way I can look out at the church from my home. I like how this mausoleum turned out. I like it. I think it's fun. I like the whole graveyard, but the mausoleum I'm especially proud of. This random block does not go here. I blame the Enderman. All right. Well, I think that is the perfect place to call it. A little early, a little shorter than usual, but not by much. Like 7 minutes. But yeah, so that is, yeah. Oh, it's so pretty. Just look at that. So, thank you so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. It's been good to be with y'all today. Thank you for your patience in starting late. Had a great lunch with my Busted Halo coworkers. It's always good to celebrate your coworkers' birthdays. Yeah, join us again tomorrow for more Castlevania. Fingers crossed that we can beat it, but I don't know. Could be tough. That game is tough. We might skip some levels. What is this clapping emote? Bard clap? I haven't seen that one. Is that one new? Oh no, that's from Spoonie. That was yours for a moment. When I saw Bard. Anyway, yeah, so join us again tomorrow for Castlevania. Monday, more Chrono Trigger. Tuesday, more Spiritfarer. I'm gonna aim to finish it. And then more midweek Minecraft next week as we start our next project. So that's exciting. So thanks so much to everyone for tuning in, for liking, sharing, subscribing, checking out the YouTube, checking out the Discord. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And why don't we see who's live to raid into? Gonna send y'all over to Mother Goose. Just playing some Fortnite. I was on Game of Favorites with her last week. She's a cool person. Had a lot of fun. Dang, I missed it all. Oh, sorry, kid. Don't worry. Next week. So, midweek Minecraft is every week. There's always more Minecraft. But yeah, Mother Goose is a fun person. So raid calls is gonna be the classic father raid. So go give her some love. She's a good Christian person. She's got a lot of good positivity. So normally she does a lot of just chatting. She doesn't actually play a ton of games. She mostly just hangs out and talks. So it's a good place to be. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care and God bless.